I'm hot. We just had to run 2 lengths of the building to get another laptop so that this would work. So pardon my panting. Let me introduce myself and tell you a little bit about what we do, and then we'll jump into the IEP. We have a lot of information to cover in a very, very short period of time to get it done within. So my name is Laura Corby. I'm the founder and the CEO of the Autism Solution Center, which is in Memphis, Tennessee area. I don't know how many of you are familiar with what we do, but we are a nonprofit organization that is a treatment facility. We have a DAN doctor. We also do all of the different modalities of treatment. We do biomedical, dietary, educational, ABA, advocacy, pretty much the whole ball of wax. And we provide our services at no cost. And our goal over the next 3 to 4 years is opening at least 1 center in each state within the U.S., so that we have the opportunity to make sure that each of the families has access to the appropriate services that are needed regardless of their ability to pay. I have 2 kids that have autism. I have an 8-year-old son who had full-blown nonverbal autism. I have a 14-year-old daughter who has Asperger's, and I have Asperger's. And all 3 of us have been treated and are doing beautifully. So I'm real passionate about what I do because I know that these kids can get better. They do get better. I know that the school systems play a very, very large role in making sure that we get these kids adequate services. But we run into problems because we know as parents that the school systems don't have unlimited resources. And we know that it's very hard to get blood from a turnip. But in the same token, that's not our child's fault. And that's not the way that the law was written, that we'll do this for you if we have the funding to do it. So, there's a lot of sites out there that help with the legal end of this. rightslaw.com, which is one of my very favorite sites in the universe. If you have not been there, go there. Spend a lot of time there. You can learn a tremendous amount of information at that site. My goal today, and it's Right's Law, WRIGHTS law.com. My goal today isn't really to talk about the law because we have a lot of people here already that are doing that. My goal today is to really talk more about navigating the actual meeting. And with the family, we work with about 1,700 families right now, and with the family in multiple capacities. Some of those are medical, some of those are more educational. But in the multiple capacities that we work in the IEP area, one of the biggest difficulties that I see is as parents, we don't get a lot of practice at IEPs. Because how many do we have a year, right? And so, I've done hundreds of them, and so I've had an opportunity to get better because I've learned the hard way. And so my hope is that I can share some of that with y'all and keep you from making some of the same mistakes that I made very, very early on. We'll find quickly that strategy is really important, and as much as you hate to say it, you almost have to play it like a game, gang. And I don't like to say it that way, but you know what? Call a spade a spade. There is definitely a component of strategy in this that if you don't get down, you're going to have a pretty hard time. Most of the systems that we've dealt with, and I work with school systems all over the country, we run into situations where more and more we're finding systems that are not willing to provide anything more than they absolutely have to. And unless you know your rights, you know the law, and you know what it is that your child needs, and you know how to appropriately ask for it, and you know how to support your request, chances are you're not going to get it. So let's hope that we can teach you some things to get the strategy end of this down so that you can navigate some of these meetings a little more successfully. IDEA, I'm sure everybody in this room knows, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Reauthorization came out in 2004. We have Part B and Part C. Part B is school age-based services, and that's for kids focusing in the ages of 3 and above up to 22. The focus in that is on educational outcomes. And when we get more into the actual IEP itself, it'll make a little bit more sense when we start talking about the differences between looking at educational outcomes and looking at early intervention, which is focusing more on the natural environment. Part C is early intervention services, and early intervention services are birth to 3. Early intervention services are going to focus really a lot more on the natural environment, providing services to catch these kids up as much as they can before they enter the school system. it shifts pretty dramatically. How many of you had kids that were in the early intervention system and when they turned 3, you shifted over to an IEP? How was that transition? Scary, wasn't it? And all of a sudden it goes from, gee, we want to do all of this to help you, to, we're not doing jack. And that's really frustrating. My son, when we were in early intervention, had just really everything he needed because we'd done our research and we did our homework and knew what to ask for, we knew how to support it. And we went into the school system, we lost 3/4 of our services, which was very frustrating. And we found ourselves in a position that we had to wait until he regressed to be able to show that what they were doing was inappropriate and to be able to have adequate data to support what it was that we were doing. And guys, that's a sad statement. These kids don't have time to spend 2 years to regress before we can prove our point. So let's figure out how to prove it on the front end. Let's look first of all at who makes up an IEP team. And this is huge. A lot of people don't realize how important this is. I run into it all the time. We have an LEA, which, what'd I say? Oh. We have an LEA, which is the local education agency, that is the person from the school system that is representing you and representing your child and on behalf of the school at that meeting. We have the teachers, and typically you're going to have a special education teacher for that child as well as a regular education teacher in there if your child has any involvement in the regular ed setting at all. We also have the therapists and service providers such as OT, PT, speech language path, music therapy. If we have ABA and any type of behavioral or other related services, they really need to be a part of that meeting. The team is made up of all of the people that are providing services for this child. And it's critical that the team is present. The number of IEPs that I've done that we have a principal and a teacher present. And that's it. That's our team. And gang, that's not a good thing. That's really not a good thing. We need to have input from everybody on all sides of this. The other thing too is, as parents, specialists that come in, if you've had any outside evaluations done, if you have an advocate, if you have a next door neighbor, if you have anybody that you think that has the ability to provide any level of expertise or support on behalf of this child, you're welcome to invite them. The system cannot say to you, no, you can't bring that person. And one of the things that I hear all the time is parents coming in saying, well, the school said we're not allowed to bring an advocate. And I'll tell you how to address those types of comments in just a couple of minutes because there's some easy ways to nip that kind of stuff in the bud. Okay, the next comment that we were kind of chuckling at. Ladies, take a man to the meeting. If you are a single mom or if your dad is not available, take your gardener. And I mean it. There have been studies done on this. And if you have a man present there with you, you are more than 40% more likely to receive the services that you are requesting. And gang, that means they don't even have to open their mouth. They just sit there. So, you know, take them with you. And I know we have a lot of single parents that don't always, you know, a lot of moms that may not have a spouse that they can take with them. Take an uncle,